The tow truck rolled away with the last piece of Marcus Hale's future just as the morning sun climbed above the rooftops. Standing on the cracked sidewalk with grease-stained hands and tears he refused to let fall, Marcus watched strangers lock the doors of the tiny garage he had spent 12 years building. His daughter stood beside him clutching a worn backpack, too young to understand contracts and debt, but old enough to recognize heartbreak. The sign that once carried his family name was already being removed. And then, less than 24 hours later, the impossible happened. The same company that had taken everything from him found itself stranded on the side of a busy highway. Their brand new $2 million armored truck, the pride of their entire fleet, had broken down without warning. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in cargo sat trapped inside. Engineers couldn't fix it. Corporate technicians couldn't fix it. The only person who could was the man whose garage they had just repossessed. Before we begin, if you believe kindness deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, comment, heart kindness story, share it with someone who needs inspiration, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories that restore faith in humanity. Marcus Hale had never imagined his life would shrink so quickly. Just 5 years earlier, his small repair garage sat on the corner of a busy avenue. Customers trusted him because he never overcharged them and never recommended repairs that weren't necessary. People drove from neighboring towns because Marcus treated every customer like family. He knew the names of their children, remembered birthdays, and often stayed late to help stranded drivers who couldn't afford expensive repairs. Then tragedy arrived without warning. His wife, Nora, was killed in a highway accident during a severe rainstorm. One ordinary evening became a permanent wound. In a single moment Marcus became a widower and the sole parent of 7-year-old Ava. Grief changed everything. The cheerful garage became quieter. Bills piled up. Medical debt from previous treatments surfaced. Customers still came, but Marcus struggled to balance work and fatherhood. Every morning began before sunrise. He packed lunches, braided Ava's hair as best he could, drove her to school, worked long hours, picked her up, made dinner, helped with homework, and often returned to the garage after she slept. The exhaustion was endless. Still, he never complained. For years he fought to keep the business alive. He missed vacations. He sold personal belongings. He emptied savings accounts. He skipped meals so Ava could attend school activities and field trips. Then a large financial company purchased the commercial property loan attached to his garage. Everything changed. The new owners cared only about numbers. Missed payments that previous lenders had worked around suddenly became violations. Grace periods disappeared. Penalties multiplied. Every letter arriving in Marcus's mailbox carried another warning. He begged for time. He submitted paperwork. He explained his situation. None of it mattered. One cold spring morning, representatives arrived with legal documents and security personnel. The garage was officially repossessed. Marcus felt something inside him break. The building wasn't just a workplace. It held memories of his father teaching him how to rebuild engines. It contained photographs of happier days with Nora. Every tool carried a story. Every corner represented sacrifice. As the locks were changed, Ava quietly slipped her small hand into his. Neither spoke. Some losses are too heavy for words. That evening they returned to their modest rental home. The house felt darker than usual. Marcus sat at the kitchen table staring at unpaid bills while Ava colored pictures nearby. For the first time in years, he didn't know what came next. The next morning he began searching for work. Applications filled his days. Rejections filled his inbox. Many repair shops wanted younger mechanics with specialized certifications. Others offered wages too low to support a family. Every closed door added weight to his shoulders. Yet Marcus kept moving. Because parents don't always have the luxury of giving up. 3 days after losing the garage, he borrowed an old pickup truck from a friend and accepted temporary roadside assistance jobs. The work was inconsistent, but it provided enough money for groceries. The summer heat arrived early that year. One afternoon Marcus received a service call near Interstate 47. A disabled vehicle was causing traffic delays several miles outside the city. He loaded basic tools into the truck and headed toward the location. As he approached, flashing lights filled the horizon. State police vehicles lined the shoulder. Corporate security teams stood nearby. Traffic stretched for nearly a mile. Marcus immediately recognized the vehicle at the center of the chaos. It was the company's newest armored transport truck. The same corporation responsible for taking his garage. The massive machine gleamed under the afternoon sun. Built with military-grade components and advanced security systems, it represented over $2 million in engineering and equipment. Yet despite all that sophistication, it sat completely motionless. Marcus parked at a distance. Several mechanics surrounded the vehicle. Laptops connected to diagnostic ports. Engineers argued over technical reports. Managers paced nervously while speaking into phones. Hours passed. Nothing changed. The truck remained dead. A state trooper eventually approached Marcus after noticing the roadside assistance markings on his pickup. Although the request sounded almost ridiculous, the officer explained that every specialist had failed. They were desperate for fresh eyes. Marcus hesitated. Part of him wanted to leave. After everything the company had done, nobody would blame him. But another part of him remembered the values his father taught him. Integrity matters most when nobody expects it. So Marcus walked toward the armored truck. The executives barely acknowledged him. To them he looked like just another struggling mechanic. His faded work shirt carried no corporate logo. His truck was older than some employees. Several people dismissed him before he even touched the vehicle. Marcus ignored them. Machines didn't care about titles. Machines told the truth. He spent nearly 20 minutes simply listening. Listening to relays. Listening to electrical signals. Listening to the silence where specific sounds should have existed. Then he noticed something. A tiny irregularity hidden behind multiple system failures. Most technicians had focused on complex software diagnostics. They assumed advanced technology required advanced solutions. Marcus focused on fundamentals. Power. Flow. Connection. A microscopic manufacturing defect inside a critical electrical junction had triggered a chain reaction throughout the truck's security architecture. The issue was nearly invisible and easily overlooked because diagnostic systems interpreted it as dozens of separate failures. Marcus carefully explained his findings. The engineers seemed skeptical. But they had no better answers. Permission was granted. Working beneath the scorching afternoon sun, Marcus removed protective panels, bypassed damaged components, and rebuilt the connection manually using available materials. Traffic crawled past. Hours slipped away. The crowd watched. Then, just before sunset, something happened. The armored truck came alive. Lights illuminated. Systems rebooted. Engines roared. The enormous vehicle shuddered and returned to operation. For a moment complete silence spread across the highway shoulder. Then cheers erupted. State troopers applauded. Drivers honked horns. Security personnel celebrated. Even the engineers stared in disbelief. Marcus simply wiped grease from his hands. To him, it was just another repair. The executives, however, understood the magnitude of what had happened. The cargo delay alone had threatened millions of dollars in losses. News crews had already begun arriving. The failure had become an expensive public embarrassment. And the man who saved them was the same person they had pushed into financial ruin. One executive asked how much Marcus charged. He paused. He could have demanded a fortune. He could have sought revenge. Instead, he quoted a reasonable service fee based on the hours worked. The executives looked stunned. One of them finally asked why. Marcus glanced toward the setting sun. Because doing the right thing wasn't supposed to depend on how others treated you. The answer spread through the crowd. Several employees lowered their heads. For the first time, many understood what kind of man stood before them. News of the incident traveled quickly. Local newspapers covered the story. Social media shared photographs of the independent mechanic who fixed what specialists couldn't. Television stations requested interviews. Marcus declined most of them. He preferred spending evenings with Ava. But something unexpected happened. People began seeking him out. Former customers returned. Business owners offered support. Residents remembered years of kindness Marcus had shown their community. An elderly woman recalled how he repaired her car for free after her husband died. A teacher described how Marcus sponsored school events without seeking recognition. A delivery driver shared a story about Marcus staying open past midnight during an emergency. One story became hundreds. Then hundreds became thousands. Within weeks, a community fundraising campaign emerged. Nobody expected much. Yet contributions poured in from strangers across the region. $20. $50. $100. Small acts of gratitude accumulated into something extraordinary. Meanwhile, the corporation responsible for the repossession faced growing public scrutiny. Their executives discovered that legal actions may have been technically correct, but public perception judged character differently. Community leaders contacted them. Customers contacted them. Investors contacted them. Questions grew louder. The company eventually reached a decision. 3 months after the highway incident, Marcus received an unexpected invitation. He assumed it involved paperwork. Instead, he entered a conference room filled with executives, local officials, and community representatives. A presentation began. Photographs appeared on a screen. Images of his former garage. Images of community donations. Images of customers. Images of Ava. The corporation announced a partnership with local investors. Together they had purchased the property. Then came the moment nobody expected. Ownership would be transferred back to Marcus. Completely debt-free. The room erupted into applause. Marcus sat frozen. For several seconds he couldn't process what he was hearing. Years of struggle. Months of heartbreak. Countless sleepless nights. All leading to this moment. His eyes filled with tears. Not because he regained a building. But because he regained hope. The grand reopening took place on a bright summer morning. Sunlight reflected from freshly painted walls. New equipment filled the workspace. Community members gathered outside carrying flowers, balloons, and handmade signs. Ava stood beside her father as they unveiled the restored family name above the entrance. For the first time in years, Marcus smiled without carrying hidden pain. The garage thrived. Apprentices joined the team. Young mechanics learned not only technical skills but also compassion and integrity. Customers returned in record numbers. The business expanded carefully, never losing its personal touch. Most importantly, Marcus and Ava finally experienced stability again. Years later, visitors still asked about the framed photograph hanging near the office entrance. The image showed a broken armored truck on a highway shoulder. Beneath it sat a simple plaque. It didn't mention revenge. It didn't mention victory. It contained only one sentence. Character is revealed when you have every reason not to help, but choose kindness anyway. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like the video, share it with friends and family, and subscribe to support more uplifting stories that remind us of the power of compassion. Special request: comment below with the words, "Kindness always wins," if you believe one act of integrity can change an entire life. As the sun set behind the garage one evening, Marcus watched Ava laughing with friends outside the building that nearly slipped away forever. The future once seemed impossible to reach, yet here it was standing right in front of him. The people who took everything had unintentionally revealed the very thing they could never repossess: his character. In the end, it wasn't wealth, power, or contracts that saved him. It was kindness remembered, integrity practiced, and a community inspired by a man who refused to become bitter. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson of all. Life can take away buildings, money, and opportunities, but when a person continues choosing goodness in the darkest moments, hope has a way of finding its road back home.